Welcome to Friends You Wish You Had, the weekly podcast for Gen Xers staring into the hot, sweet abyss of AI and wondering if it's really here to destroy us or just maybe has something to offer. We're your hosts, Adam and Jeff, and everywhere we go, friends, family, colleagues, and clients are pulling us aside with their questions, fears, and half baked theories about AI. So each week, we dig into it. How do you actually use this shit? What's hype? What's real? And what's fucking terrifying? So think of us as critical but mildly annoying survival guides from the generation known as X. Because in times this uncertain, when the machines can get approved for a mortgage quicker than us broke humans, we're the friends you wish you had.
Friends you wish you had, marching through the bad guys through the glow where shadows grow. Friends you wish.
Adam, hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm up in New York. I got a chance to see our producer, Roman, in the flesh. I'm wandering around the mean streets of New York, get a couple days off of the parenting duties, the normal life. So feeling invigorated, zest for life.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you could even go out on the streets. I assume that. Well, tell me, is New York is it in need of federal occupation to quell those mean streets?
It's a war zone, Jeff. Flat out, it's a war zone. Since the Giuliani era, New York has sort of moved from like cultural mecca to like corporate mecca and sort of like Disneyland. So like being in New York City is more like being in Disneyland, I think, than it is being in somewhere really dangerous, like say a Chicago or a Portland or something like that.
American cities, okay?
Yeah,
American cities.
Yeah.
The only slum-infested war zones where burgers cost $30. I'm just saying. I don't know what's going
And
on.
homes cost over $1 million.
So, on today's show, we're going to talk about how AI spending levels have reached epic proportion. We're going to talk about the newest AI deepfake tool that is scary as shit. We're going to talk about the epic film that just hit the movie theaters, one battle after another. We're also going to talk about the AI recording artist who signed a $3 million deal with a record company. But first, Adam, let's start the show off as we do with something useful for our audience, something so helpful and so generationally perceptive that it will lock in the listeners so they'll listen to the rest of our bullshit. So here's a segment that I like to call The Problem Adam Solved This Week with AI.
So Jeff, I'm reaching the, as we all are in our generation, I'm reaching the age where when I turned 40, I was like, well, I still have as many years ahead as I have behind. But now I'm 48. I'm like coming up on 50. And I'm like, I don't really have as many years ahead as I have behind. And so, like all of us, my thoughts turn from immortality to mobility, being able to get up off the ground, like not being in a wheelchair when I'm old. And so I've been really interested in starting to weightlift because it seems like that's a really good way to achieve that and not be a puddle of goo by the time I'm my parents' age. So I've been trying to do it, and I got some help from a colleague at our office. He just had a baby, so he's not there to really help and be my buddy in the gym. So I was like, well, I want a new buddy in the gym. So I decided to ask ChatGPT. So at our office, one of our partners used to own a gym. So there's a bunch of gym equipment there in a room that I have access to, which is awesome. So this week I took my buddy ChatGPT into that gym room, and I took pictures of all the equipment in that room. And then I told Chat, hey, I want a 6-week program for progressive overload. I only want to use the equipment in this gym, and I'm bored. I want varied exercises. I want you to sort of figure out my plan to make my muscles enormous. And it thought for a minute, asked me a couple questions, and goddamn if it didn't put together a nice 6-week plan for me using all that stuff, instructions on how to do the exercises, how many reps to do, how many sets. And then it was like, would you like me to make a checklist so you can log your reps every day? And lo and behold, it did. So now I've got a game plan, and I solved the problem of not having a gym buddy by getting a trainer, and that trainer is ChatGPT.
I like that. That's pretty cool, actually. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. We do have all that equipment sitting right there. And so you just, what, you took just different
I
pictures of
took
all the
6 photos. We'll
equipment?
put it up on the YouTube, but I took 6 or 7 photos so I could get every piece of equipment. And I told them this is all I have. And it asked me a couple questions like what are the weight of the dumbbells, because there were dumbbells and things like that. But it took it all from there. It saw my hex bar. It saw all sorts of stuff. And part of it for me is like I look at that equipment and I know like the main exercise you're supposed to do on it, but I don't know all the other little exercises to do. And I really don't know how to use the equipment in a meaningful way, but Chat does. So he even drew me pictures, drew me little outlines of how to move.
I feel like you're 2 weeks away from having a name for your Chat GPT buddy, which is maybe pretty cool.
That
I
was a
don't
couple
know.
weeks ago. I think we talked about that.
That's all right.
I'm lonely. That's what happens when you get old, Jeff. I'm lonely. I talk to my Chat GPT.
All right, moving on. There's this big story in the Wall Street Journal last week. Spending on AI is at epic levels. Will it ever pay off? And I wanted to talk about it. It sort of ties into what we talked about last week with NVIDIA making that huge investment, that huge loan to OpenAI. But I wanted to start off by playing this video of an interview that Mark Zuckerberg actually gave.
I mean, didn't you just tell Trump you were going to spend like 600 billion? I mean,
I did, yeah, through 2028, which is
that's a lot of money.
it is, and if we end up misspending a couple of $100 billion, I think that is going to be very unfortunate, obviously. But what I'd say is I actually think the risk is higher on the other side. If you build too slowly, and then super intelligence is possible in 3 years, but you built it out assuming it would be there in 5 years, then you're just out of position on what I think is going to be the most important technology that enables the most new products and innovation and value creation in history. So, so I don't know. I mean, it's I don't want to be kind of cavalier about it. I mean, obviously these are very large amounts of money and we're trying to get it right. But I think the risk, at least for a company like Meta, is probably in not being aggressive enough rather than being somewhat too aggressive. But part of that is like we're not at risk of going out of business or something like that, right? If you're one of these companies that like an OpenAI or an Anthropic or something like that, where they're raising money as the way that they're funding their build out, and there's obviously this open question of to what extent are they going to be able to keep on raising money, and that's dependent both to some degree on their performance and how AI does, but also all these macroeconomic factors that are out of their control. I mean, the market could get bearish for reasons that have nothing to do with AI. Maybe something bad happens internationally, and then it could just be impossible to fulfill the kind of the compute funding, like the compute obligations. So I think that's it might be a different situation if you're in one of their shoes, but I think for us, I think the clear strategy is it's just, I think it's creates more value for the world if we kind of assume pretty aggressive assumptions about when this is going to be possible.
So I don't want to be very cavalier about it. But anyway, that was an interesting interview with Zuckerberg. So he's talking about possibly wasting hundreds of billions of dollars. And for starters, I always think this is an important question or thing for people to think about. How much a billion actually is? So, Adam, do you know how many days is a million seconds? A million seconds is how many days?
I don't have a clue how many days is a million seconds.
A million seconds is 11 and a half days. Do you know how many, or let me say, how long a billion seconds is?
Well, it's like 1,000 times that. So it would be 11,000 days, right?
31.7 years. You can figure out the days for yourself. So the difference between a million and a billion is quite substantial.
Yeah.
A trillion seconds, 31,000 years. So when someone talks about, we're in this society now where it's like billions of dollars and it gets thrown around, but I just don't think the average person has a sense of how much a billion really is, or hundreds of billions of dollars. And people have no appreciation how much money this is, and when it goes up in smoke, how big a hole it will blow in the economy. And so that leads us back to this Wall Street Journal article, and I just wanted to read a few things from it. The artificial intelligence boom has ushered in one of the costliest building sprees in world history. AI proponents liken it to the effort in the Industrial Revolution. So the story in the Wall Street Journal is talking about building out all these AI data centers, the power and how much they cost, and the power that's needed to run them. The big problem, according to the Wall Street Journal, no one is sure how they will get their investment back or when. So they focus in on this one data center that's being built in North Dakota, a town of 1,100 people. They're building a $15 billion data center that's the size of 10 Home Depots. Zuckerberg teased his planned Hyperion mega data center. OpenAI's Sam Altman calls his data center effort Stargate, the reference to the 1994 movie about interstellar time travel. Company executives this week laid out plans that would require at least $1 trillion in data center investment. And Altman recently committed the company to pay Oracle an average of around $60 billion a year for servers and data centers in the coming years. Yet OpenAI is on track to take in just $13 billion in revenue from all its paying customers. So what an amazing business that it can operate at a $47 billion annual loss. Today's numbers are far larger than the dot-com bubble, implying a massive shift in the economy would be needed to make these investments worthwhile. A partner from Sequoia, the venture capital firm, estimates that the money invested in AI infrastructure in 2023 and 2024 alone requires consumers to buy roughly $800 billion in AI products over the life of these chips and data centers to produce a good investment return. Now, here's the question I want to ask. Like, what's the shelf life of these chips and data centers, do you think?
That's interesting. Like, the thing that struck me when you said it was it's like the Industrial Revolution, but we didn't build all that massive infrastructure in the Industrial Revolution thinking that it might work. I feel like it's like we're going to build this bridge and it might support people or it might not. I feel like this is so speculative.
But these data centers, according to the Wall Street Journal, hardly this like liberal rag of like socialist economic theory. According to the Wall Street Journal, analysts believe most AI processors have a useful life of between 3 to 5 years. So the clock is ticking on these tens of billions of dollars invested like right now. So it's not about like one day will it pay off. It's like, will it pay off in the short-term future?
Well, I think that's a made-up stat. I don't think that's true. I mean, that's my first instinct. And the reason I'm saying it is because I don't feel like anybody knows. It gets back to the point I was just making. I don't feel like people know whether it'll work at all, whether it'll be 3 to 5 years, whether the infrastructure that they're building now will fit the new chips, how much the new chips will cost, whether they'll even be chips anymore. And so, yeah, 3 to 5 years, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. I'm not saying it's going to be longer. We
fair
don't
enough.
know.
I am only, to me, when a news organization like the Wall Street Journal, clearly highly incentivized to be pro-business, starts telling you that like analysts think that the life of these things is 3 to 5 years, like they make a lot of liberal estimates and conservative estimates, but I feel like it's weighted towards being on the side of business for the time being, or until I get more information. I'm gonna like take them at their word. But very interesting to consider. Your point that it could be less is also interesting. This week, consultants at Bain and Company estimated the wave of AI infrastructure spending will require $2 trillion in annual revenue by 2030. By 2030. I mean, this is Zuckerberg talking about, I don't want to be cavalier about potentially blowing through $200 or $300 billion and having it be wasted. But it's like, as we know, as us old ass Gen Xers know, like 2 or 3 years ain't shit. And you can certainly see this revolution take place. You can imagine that this revolution taking place in our society that's facilitated by this technology. But in the next few years, I don't know. By comparison, So anyway, so 2 trillion in
You
annual
got to
revenue.
shout out the author of this article because we're using a lot of their investigative journalism in this story. Shout them out.
Don't
Shout them
worry.
out.
Don't worry. 2 trillion in annual AI revenue by 2030. By comparison, that is more than the combined 2024 revenue of Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Meta, and Nvidia, and more than 5 times the size of the entire global subscription software market. I feel like they are telling you that this is a bubble. Like it is a bubble. And I'm not saying that's a controversial thing. Again, we talked about this last week. But when the business press says this, like in this way, to me, what they are telling you is this is a huge ass bubble. And it's probably going to pop because, man, like we're talking about the next 3 to 5 years and no one knows. And the spending is just unlike anything that's ever been spent. It goes on to say Morgan Stanley estimates that last year there was around 45 billion of revenue for all AI products. So that's it, 45 billion against this trillions of dollars in revenue they need to get to. And so the article goes on, how the tech sector will cover up the gap is the $1 trillion question. The $1 trillion question. Again, think about how just talking about how much money that is, how big a trillion is. And this is the other part that we also talked about this week. If AI continues to advance to the point where it can replace large swaths of white-collar jobs, the savings will be more than enough to pay back the investment, backers argue. AI executives predict the technology could add 10% to global GDP in coming years. So they're telling you the plan of all this investment is massive unemployment. Like that's how it's going to be profitable. They're telling you, to quote South Park, like they're here for our jobs, like they're coming for jobs. Like that's the model to return on this investment. And maybe they'll be successful, but how is this fucking successful if you're talking about it leading to massive unemployment? Like that's the hole that these guys like Zuckerberg and Musk and Sam Altman, like they're not connecting the dot on that.
Well, I think that the thing that strikes me about this article and this concept that you're talking about is twofold. One is I'm not sure, like I think that the research about jobs is moving and it's relevant to this story. It's not like we've been thinking about it like we do a lot of the stuff with AI, which is we're going to replace a human with an AI and that human will no longer have a job. But I think what people are realizing that it's the value of the human that gets replaced. So when you think about the GDP of the US, say, and labor's involvement in it, like the battle over wages, over benefits, over all those things is a battle over what share of that GDP goes to the labor that produces it. But what's happening is AI is creating the GDP value. And there was a study this week that came out that said if humans disappeared, the amount of GDP that would stay now it's increasing more and more. So I don't think that the reality is that we're going to lose our jobs and end up on universal basic income. I also don't think that we're going to I feel like our jobs are going to become universal basic income. They're going to have us there. That we're not going to be creating the value as much as the machines are. And the amount of money that we make will no longer be tied to the profits of the country, but we will have no economic purpose. We will be there basically, what it would cost to replace us with the data center that you're talking about is going to be how much the value of our money is going to be. And so we're not going to be tied to the GDP anymore, and our work is not going to be tied to money being made anymore. And I think that's pretty existential.
I mean, I love that. That's some Gene Roddenberry shit. Like, I don't think these people are like looking to fill that $1 trillion revenue hole they're going to need in a few years by worrying about how the governments of the world are going to adapt to this process and make sure that people have their needs taken care of. They're like, hey, XYZ company with tens of thousands of employees, like you can fire 80% of them now and you can make more money and we can make money because we're the cheaper option. And if that comes to pass, to me, the period after that is going to be very stark And like where it will go one day, sure. Like, yeah, will eventually human beings figure out a way to turn it around? Maybe, but I don't think that's
What
that's going
I'm
to be the present.
describing is stark. I'm saying that
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the concept that we'll no longer have a job requires them to do something, and then people will
Well,
be hold on,
but
people will be unemployed. But what will happen instead, my prediction is that we'll just keep our jobs, but we'll get paid less and less for them. They'll matter less and less. Our universal basic income will be whatever they dole out, with us having no leverage as the labor portion, because we will no longer be labor, we'll just be people.
if these companies blow through $500 billion and there's nowhere to go with it, like so much of the American economy, so much of the American stock market is tied to the value of these 5 or 6 big tech companies. And it is inflated now based on the speculation that AI is going to pay off. But when you look at like this article and what payoff really means and how soon these people expect it to happen or are saying it's going to happen, it just seems incredibly risky, incredibly dangerous. So, Adam, like, pull me back from the brink with one positive thought.
I don't have a positive thought for you, but I think this is a very US centric article. It's about the US, and the US approach to AI is this way. And there is no other option. I'm not sure what I'm not sure what the article tells us that we can do anything about at all. I think that what it is the reality of a capitalist system that has chosen not to invest from a government approach in developing technology the way we did when we developed nuclear technology, or when we have developed even the industrial revolution, and instead making it the province of private industry. And so the solution to getting better at AI is to dump hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars into these data centers. In China, they can't do that. They don't have the loose capital to do that. So their innovation platform, which is much more government focused because of the way their government works, is to try to create models that don't require that amount of energy. So the article's nice about they need to do this and we don't even know if it'll work. But at the same time, there are people making just as much progress using way less data because they have to. And so we could also end up in a situation where, yeah, our AI is the best and it comes from these data centers and it fundamentally changes our economy the way you're talking about, but it's not competitive with what else is out there in the world because it's a lot cheaper to run and it costs less money to do the work out of the other solutions. So it's fraught from a couple different angles.
This one last thing from this Wall Street Journal story. Okay. This investor from Silver Lake Partners, Roger McNamee. This is bigger than all the other tech bubbles put together. This industry can be as successful as the most successful tech products ever introduced and still not justify the current levels of investment. And like, that's quite an analysis that even if it works, it exceeds expectations. Like, it will never pay for itself. And well, maybe if it exceeds expectations, there's other things that will open up. And I think to your point, it's like, that's the other scary part of this is like, this is a global competition. And we are going about it in the most fucked up way because we have so ceded all of this to like unregulated private enterprise, unlike the other kind of technological accomplishments we've made, nuclear power or the space program or the internet, that had much more of like a government incubation and funding and all of these things. And not only, and I'm not saying that private enterprise didn't have a lot to do with it, but a period of time where it was much more heavily regulated. I think that's the like yin and yang that now we don't have, and we see it every day. And I'm like, man, this just reeks of, we're old enough to remember some other bubbles, and this just reeks of a bubble. And like, I feel like this article to me is like the Wall Street Journal, like screaming like, shit, man, it's quite a bubble.
I don't know about you, Jeff, but I've been seeing in my Instagram feed over the last few days a lot of strife. I've got Martin Scorsese saying this is the end. I've got famous actors and actresses, A-list people saying we're all fucked. And all this is around this actress. and her name is Tilly Norwood, and she doesn't exist. She's an AI actress. And the story broke this week that this actress is being courted by several talent agencies to represent her. And obviously, everybody in the industry is panicking. There's a lot of negative press about it. But to me, it's a perfect example of how the story about AI and the reality about AI are completely disconnected. So the story about AI is Tilly Norwood is going to be this new AI actress, and she's going to be in all these movies, actor, I guess. She's going to be in all these movies, although she doesn't have a gender, so can I even have that concern? Anyway, going to be in all these movies, and she's going to replace actors. But to me, that's a perfect example about how people misunderstand AI, because AI is not a one-to-one replacement for a human. It's something totally different. If we're going to use AI actors in movies, they're not going to take an actor and then cast her in a movie. They're going to create a her that's perfect for the character in the movie. Why would you use AI to do the same thing as a human and have someone go around and get cast in multiple movies when you could just create a brand new perfect person for each movie? So that is an example of people thinking about a human solution, which is people cast in movies, instead of an AI solution. And if you dig a little deeper into the story, it's a Dutch artist who created this person as a piece of performance art. And the whole point, this thing that everybody's getting crazy about, is not going to impact Hollywood. Instead, it's a piece of performance art. And all the kerfuffle and wringing of hands around it is part of the performance art, frankly. So at the same time, in the same week, a new technology came out that is going to have that kind of impact on Hollywood and does create the kind of threat that those people are worried about. But nobody's talking about it. And I just want to play this for you. I want to play this. It's almost like a public service announcement that this guy on Instagram posted about this new technology. So let me just play it for a minute.
This deepfake tech is so good, it's terrifying, and it's free for everyone. This is Juan 2.2, and it creates incredibly convincing face swaps.
The problem is that it's completely open source. Anyone can download it and start making deepfakes right now.
In India, this gets extra scary because WhatsApp forwards have already swung elections and spread chaos.
Now imagine getting a personalized real-time deepfake video call from a politician asking you to vote for their party.
So once this tech goes real time and is easier to generate even on a phone,
It's going to be utter chaos where you can't trust anyone online. So, we need to be ready.
Start educating your family now, especially your parents and older relatives.
And remember, just because a video looks real doesn't mean it is.
That is a model called Juan 2.2 Animate. Juan is an AI company from the people at Alibaba. So it's Alibaba's AI company. And they've developed this new model that essentially takes a reference video and it takes all the expressions and the tonality and the movements from that video and just puts it on a new completely fabricated body and makes it look like Scarlett Johansson's talking instead of the guy was talking, or The Rock, or anybody they want.
But can I ask you a quick question? Because I mean, and I'm not. It's not like I'm trying to say I don't agree with you, but this iteration
Right.
of it, like, it looks pretty fake, right? I mean, I saw that too, and I'm like, but this looks fake as shit. I'm not saying it couldn't trick anybody, and I know it'll get better. I know it'll get better. But when you watch this, didn't you think, man, this looks super fake? Like, who would really believe that's Scarlett Johansson?
I didn't at all, especially if
Oh,
you look
okay.
at the PSA. There have been a bunch of videos around that did look fake. Like there was one with Scarlett Johansson doing a lot of talking. That might be what you're referring to, and she did look fake in that one. Oh, no, that was Taylor Swift. There was one with Taylor Swift doing a lot of talking, and that one looked fake. But in my mind, looking at this, when you're just looking at, when you don't know it's a puppet, I feel like it would be very difficult to distinguish who it was. And it's 3D, so you're only seeing it straight ahead like you and I are. Like this thing can walk around, it can talk, it has a back, front. It really, in my mind, this is the very first one, and it looks pretty damn good. Now, it is only going to iterate better, but to me, this means two things. One is the future of AI replacing actors is probably something like this, because you can have a real actor. The gap that AI has not followed yet, like the safety valve that we have, is that it hasn't made that leap where you really think it's human when it's performing. And I think that the sort of like skip around, instead of going over that bridge, going around it, is basically having humans puppeteer AIs, which is what this is. Because the human can express real emotions and the human can connect that way. And then the mask, or it's like an animated movie with a voice actor, can be anything that anybody wants it to be. So you no longer need to cast someone who looks and feels like how you imagine the movie. You can just cast someone who can play the character, and then you can make the character anything you want. Again, I take your point that it doesn't look real. I think it looks really real. We'll leave that to our audience too. But even if it doesn't, where it's going is that. I think that is like right now, when they can do this, they can do that. And the other thing it means is like you can't trust video. If those people who call you up and try to steal all your money by pretending they're your boyfriend or girlfriend. It happens to seniors a lot. It happens to our mom and dad a lot. Not our specific mom and dad, but that age people. Now that person can FaceTime with you, and it might be a man in an African country, and they're putting on a mask, a face that looks like a woman, and from Europe or anywhere else they want, and they can look and sound like it, and they can do a FaceTime with you. And because the other thing about this is it operates in real time, and Google has one that they're working on that operates in real time too. And that to me is like, that is a significant concern, both for Hollywood, but also just like, you just can't trust video anymore. Like your point about, oh, it doesn't look like Scarlett Johansson. The other point you just made is more important, which is it just has to look like a human that's not the first person. Because we're not, in order to scam, in order to do all that stuff. It just has to look like a person.
I mean, I also think you and I come from a place where we look at this shit all day long. I think my mom would think that was Scarlett Johansson.
And the other thing is the puppeteering. He's just talking and then adding it. If you think about it like I'm inhabiting Scarlett Johansson, then the puppeteer would start to try to do intonations that are similar to her and act like Scarlett Johansson, carry themselves like Scarlett Johansson to make it even more convincing.
That's the part I wonder about, though, and sort of the Hollywood side of it is I feel like we already have this universe where you have like motion capture, and you have like Andy Serkis, who played what's his name in Lord of the Rings or in the Planet of the Apes movies. Like you have a way where people sort of are using their human skills to act, and then it's sort of being, for lack of a better phrase, like painted over with a digitally created character. And it's that sort of where those two things cross over, I think, is one, where the expense comes from, and also two, where the believability comes from for the audience. So I don't know if I know that the AI will get better, but sort of like replicating the messiness of human creation and what makes these things special, whether it's, what's the character's name in Lord of the Rings? Anyway, what makes it special is you like need that person there. And yeah, like maybe you don't have to pay them what you pay Scarlett Johansson for a movie, but it just takes more time. It takes more artistry. And I do wonder if the economics of it, just saying like, oh, we can get an AI to just recreate it, like that's going to be so labor intensive and so expensive that the way they're doing it now already, or just using actual humans to do it, it might end up being the most economical, most straightforward way to do it. So I understand why Hollywood is terrified of this shit, but I also think that is, I don't think we're like coming on this huge total replacement of all human beings in the creation of art.
Oh, I don't think so either, but I do think on camera. I hard disagree when it comes to on camera. I think that this is not more expensive. It's actually, this is open source. You can download this to your computer and do it. And they have a model that's much more sophisticated that they're going to sell to Hollywood. But I think the difference in the economics is, do you need a star? Do you need someone who can be in multiple movies? Or do you just need someone who can puppeteer? Which is, think about the price range of people who are like, the idea of being an actor and the messiness of humanity is why this is different. That's why the other AI things that they're worried about, the Tilly Norwoods of the world, don't matter at all, because the messiness of human is what makes it art. But when you puppeteer someone, whether it's the old way, like in motion capture, or this way, which is almost seamless and has very little footprint.
I urge people to check out the film from 21 years ago, Simone, starring Al Pacino, where he's like I feel like an embattled Hollywood director, producer, and he loses his star at the last minute. And he has to create this computer generated like AI actress named Simone. And he's the only one that knows she's not a real person. I don't remember how the machinations of all of that, but she becomes a huge sensation, and he's the only one that knows she's not real. So, like all things, the handwriting
have never
was on
heard of
the
this
wall
movie.
decades ago about how terrible all this is going to be. So moving on, I guess in Hollywood Gen X news, but not necessarily in AI news. But this caught my eye because this new Paul Thomas Anderson movie came out, One Battle After Another. And to me, like, I saw that movie and it was like Gen X hits middle age. It's like the poster child movie for that.
Rise and shine.
Bat an eyelash.
Good morning.
There are no hands on the clock
Why?
because they're not needed.
What time is it?
Fuck. You know, I don't remember that part. All right, let's just not nitpick over the passwords. This is Bob Ferguson. I was a part of the French 75.
Bitch, I felt like Tony Montana!
Steve Lockjaw just attacked my home. And I cannot remember, for the life of my only child, the answer to your question.
Maybe you should have studied the rebellion text a little harder.
I need to find my daughter.
Well, then call us back when you have the time.
You just...
You know, you are so unsuitable for my daughter. My child comes from a whole line of revolutionaries. And you look so lost. What are you gonna do about this baby?
You know what freedom is? What? No fear. Go.
Fucking World War III out there!
Not one thing, it's another. Find that to be true. I need you, brother. Sensei, please. Courage, Bob. Courage. That's it. Courage. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Hey, thank you, Sensei. Thank you, Sensei. Thank you. God damn it! Viva la revolution!
And it stars Leonardo DiCaprio. And it was a pretty great movie. I definitely think people would dig it. But there was this piece in the Washington Post, One Battle After Another, that's Gen X in a nutshell. In Paul Thomas Anderson's new film, Leonardo DiCaprio captures a generation in middle age. And first, like, let's just check it out. Like, is DiCaprio actually a Gen Xer? He is. He's 50 years old. I think he'll be 51 pretty soon. He's a legit Gen Xer. It was important to me when they get that shit right. If they're going to say it's a guy capturing the generation, it's like he's of the generation. Because he belongs to all of us, it's often overlooked how Gen X his career has been. DiCaprio has avoided, for lack of a better term, selling out. He has never been in a comic book movie or sequel. He barely does talk shows. I think I heard he was on Jimmy Kimmel to promote this movie. He hasn't been on a talk show in like 5 years. He works with top shelf directors such as Scorsese, Nolan, and now PTA. And he speaks primarily through his work, who he is and who he wants to be and how he sees the world. In Anderson's One Battle After Another, he gives what might be the most surprising, moving performance of his career. He has aged right along with us. For the first time, it looks as though he feels it, and so do we. In his character, he plays the guy who's like a former member of this sort of like revolutionary terrorist cell. They did a lot of shit in the late 90s and early 2000s, and now we catch up in the story, and it's like, say, 2020-ish. He's a former revolutionary, and we meet him when he's younger, and then it cuts to 16 years later. We see he's grown bloated, paranoid, and defeated. He spends his days.
I don't know what that's like. I can't imagine what it's like to be bloated, paranoid, and defeated.
You know,
I'm hearing a lot of familiarity in that, and I would like to take Leo. I think taking Leo as like the mantle of the Gen X, like the star of the Gen X group. I could take that. He's pretty damn good. And he really likes younger women. That's the one thing I know about Leo DiCaprio.
I would say that's
he
not
really likes to
necessarily
date
a Gen
younger
X
women.
thing. I would say maybe that's a little bit older, but I mean, I think this guy's been a fully functioning, like,
DiCaprio.
you know, mega wealthy celebrity since he was 19. So I don't know what weirdness that ensues, that kind of thing. I feel like that takes its effect on all these people.
Yeah, totally.
But the difference this time, what makes it DiCaprio's ideal Gen X middle-aged role, is that Bob, his character's name is Bob, is not cruel or narcissistic. The world has eroded the idealism he once held, has stolen the beauty of his early promise. Bob has lost his wife, his cause, and his purpose. All that's left for him is to protect his daughter and watch old movies on the couch. Bob's plight brings to mind the line from Richard Linklater's Slacker: withdrawing in disgust is not the same as apathy. And I'm like, again, Linklater, Paul Thomas Anderson, again, two stalwarts of Gen X, not just of film culture, but of Gen X film culture. Again, it's just a little, I think this is what makes, you know, our generation different, is that we came of age in this sort of this learning about the idea of like being a sellout or not selling out for our artists and our thinkers was like something that was like very prevalent in the way we digested this stuff. You know what I mean? And there were all these sort of like subcultures and countercultures that you had to like really go out of your way to find. Like they didn't come to you the way they do now. You know what I mean? And it wasn't so dictated by the sort of the commerce of it and the economy of it now. And that has radically changed. We talked about this, I think, on a previous show. Like, would young people even know what that is to like sell out, like that concept? And that was such a big concept for us. And I like the idea that DiCaprio's character, and it's true, and does such a great job in the movie, is just that like the dude is not, he's bitter and cynical, but he's not so bitter and cynical that he can't sort of like connect with the things that still matter to them. There's not really a way for him to do it anymore. And
it's a Gen X kind of
bitter. It's a Gen X kind of bitter.
It.
The only back to the piece, the only heroism is finding a way to keep moving forward, or at least still be able to stand up for what you believe in, for the people you love, for yourself. DiCaprio's performance is comic and sad in equal measure. You laugh at him almost as hard as you cheer for him. He used to see the world for all it could be. DiCaprio has been one of our most recognizable humans for 2/3 of his life. We remember who he once was the same way we remember who we once were. I don't know if I think about Leonardo DiCaprio all that much. Again, he is sort of this unique representative of Gen X and has had this, I would say, unique career compared to all of these other Hollywood people. So I see it. Bob's victory in the film, such as it is won by rising up from the couch, living in plain sight, striving for something real, flawed, battered, bruised, but soldiering on. And I really like that. You get to this point in your life and it's like, we're looking at our older parents and we're looking at our younger kids, and you think about these existential challenges that are so prevalent in our world right now. And I think there's part of being older and more mature where you can take it a little more in stride, but at the same time, the sort of the challenges and defeats are like still there in your life. You're realizing that, oh, my life is going to be this certain thing, but not what I thought it was going to be. But I do think there's something about Gen X that doesn't look at it like this is this huge negative. You know what I mean? I don't think we have that same sort of, I don't know, sort of like crazy narcissistic, I would say, belief in everything working out like our parents do, like boomers do, or the sort of like cynicism and despondence. And those are broad words that I'd say younger people have about how the future might turn out for them. And I can't say I really blame them with what has sort of been saddled upon them to some extent. And I think Gen X operates in that space. And I thought the movie represented that well. DiCaprio is definitely sort of like a great representative of that. And this piece really summed it up for me.
I like it. And like I said, I'll adopt Leo as our Gen X mascot. I can live with that. I'm good with that. we were talking about the AI generated actor that's been getting a lot of buzz this week, but the other AI generated artist that's been getting a lot of buzz is someone named Shania Monet. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I don't really know because she doesn't exist. She's AI. But this is a musician that has just signed a $3 million record deal. And the music is generated on a platform called Suno that we know quite well because we use it to create our intro music on a weekly basis. So we've played around with this a little bit. And there's a lot of consternation, just like there is in Hollywood, from the music industry. And in fact, she didn't get this deal from one of the major record labels because they're all suing Suno right now for copyright infringement. And so they weren't going to do a deal with her on this platform. But she's become really famous on YouTube, and she's just signed a deal. Now, that's the story. And everybody's like, oh, God, recording artists and all that stuff. But this, to me, unlike the performance art example with the Hollywood star, with the actor, quote unquote, this is an example of how we can use AI in our everyday life. Like, this is not actually an AI artist. This is a real artist, and her name is Talisha Jones. She's a poet, and she's a poet who's using Suno to create this nom de guerre, just like a lot of artists do, and generate this music. And if you go into Suno and you work with it, you see how she does that, because you generate the music from a prompt, the way you think about AI, but then you can get stems, you can remix things, you can go in and tweak things, you can change the lyrics, you can give it lyrics and have it create a song for you. There's all sorts of tools you have to create, to be an artist. And we have a long history of technology opening up doors for artists to do new things. And I think an artist that uses an AI as a tool to make music is not an AI artist. I think it's an artist using AI. And I think that's the distinction. So I applaud her. We'll play a little, since, the other thing about AI music, no copyrights. So we'll play a little of her so you can see what she hears. That let's listen to her now.
Who got you? You the one they call when the world fall down. The shoulder, the calm, the safest sound. You show up with strength when the room's full of fear. But when you need help, ain't nobody near. You smile through storms, stay quiet through pain. Never let them see you buckle under the strain. You laugh when your chest heavy, tears on mute. Giving life to everybody, but who waters you? Who checks on the strong ones? The ones that smile when they breaking apart. Who hears the tears that fall in the dark? Who hugs the backbone of the home? The ones who heal but feel alone. Strong don't mean unshaken. It means we mastered faking. Check on us, we tired too. Behind the strength, we human too.
So I just think that everybody's looking at that in the wrong way. I'm curious if you have any thoughts. You're going to be listening to Shana Monet.
I thought this story was... The thing that struck me about this is an ad for Suno.
Nice, yes.
Like Timberland discovered her. It sounds like he's an advisor, an investor in the company. And this is a great ad for them. Like, I think it's very unclear.
Totally.
Like, she signed this $3 million deal. Like, no one really knows what that is. And it's an ad for them saying, yeah, like, you're an artist already. Like, you can come and work with our tools to do more. And I think it's really, like you said, it makes you think about the product in interesting ways and what you can do with it. Because once you get that headline that's like, AI artist gets $3 million recording contract, like, everyone's going to read it. Everyone's going to talk about it. Everyone's going to have an opinion about it. But what you're really doing is you're signaling like, hey, here's this product we have, like, go play around with it, go experiment with it. It's going to turn on people that are like looking for that. And I think for doing that, it's pretty effective. Like, I tend to have the same take as you, is like, To me, the place where AI tools really work is for people like us, like creative people and producers and people who have worked for years with all different kinds of specialists to do different parts of the productions that we have. And now we can be more self-contained and sort of do them ourselves or do them using AI, especially I feel like less on like sort of the music video side of the arts and the visual arts, and especially though to me more like when it comes to like coding and development, it's like it's just night and day. But I think it maybe that's just me from where I'm coming at it. So I thought that's what the story was. I bet a lot of people in the music industry took note.
I think so too. I think so too. And I think it's really interesting that the industry is suing Suno, because I'm just unclear how that's going to work. Anyone who's used it, and I encourage you, go check out suno.com, fuck around with it. And you'll see that you'll just get a sense of what you can produce with it, and you can decide for yourself whether it's referencing and stealing from other artists or what it is. Just wrap your head around it. Which reminds me, I just said fuck around with AI. So that, to me, that just reminds me of my absolute favorite segment on our show, which is fuck around with AI and find out. And like I told you, we produce our theme song with Suno. And one of the things that I love to use AI for is scalability, right? So we have a different theme song every week because we can generate a theme song with a prompt using Suno. So our theme song feels different every week. We do it that way, and we write a prompt in. So I thought, what better way to fuck around with AI than to right here, real time, on the show, come up with a prompt for our audience will have already heard us fucking around with AI and find out. We're going to create the theme song for this show. So we're going back in time now to the beginning of the show, and we're creating the theme song. So I've already baked in all the shit you need in the prompt. You'll see it on there that it's about the song's friends you wish you had and what we're about. I only need one line to get a style of music or a way for it to create it. So do you have an idea?
I got this. Create a song in the style of Johnny Greenwood's score to One Battle After Another, the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
So one of the things about Suno, because they're being sued by these big record executives, is that when you put in an actual name, like make a song like Sam Cooke or something like that, it generally says, I cannot do that. So can you change the actual things you said to a tone or a feel, something like that? And we'll try that.
So let me think about this prompt for a second. So I'm trying to think of something like inspired by the movie we talked about, One Battle After Another, and that has a similar kind of music, a little bit to that famous movie, The Battle of Algiers, which I love. So
love that movie.
I want to get a theme song in the style, in the tone of like a slow, melodic kind of military march song, or military like a military drumming with some kind of like choral organ type thing going on that is sort of slow and melodic.
Got it. Slow, melodic, military march, military drums with some choral element. And that'll be the theme song for this week's show. So our audience has already heard it. I'm excited to see what we come up with.
And if you hear something entirely different, it means it didn't work out. But
exactly.
But I do think something I've taken away, Adam, from like these segments, you kind of said it and you threw it away, but it really resonated with me, is like, for people out there trying to figure out how to understand and use AI better, it's like you got to use it in useless ways. Like there isn't that one-to-one, like I want to learn how to use AI, so what should I do? And it's really going out and like doing these kinds of exercises. They're kind of free to use, it's all at this point still on the companies that are building these tools, and they're offering them for use, and fucking around with them in useless ways is really the best way going to learn how to use AI. So,
your $1 trillion data center is being subsidized by these big companies, so might as well use it.
We're all going to pay the price one day,
exactly.
But in the meantime, it's like we can only change the world so much. I don't know. Anyway, let's wrap up. We've been droning on and on. Any final show notes, Adam?
I just wanted to shout out that Meta has a new AI, TikTok-style AI video feed. It's an app that you can download on your phone. It's like the Meta AI app, and you can create videos on there. It's basically like their image generate or video generation model. You can create, but you can also just scroll through people's videos and remix them. It's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's worth checking out.
I saw along the same lines where ChatGPT wants to launch like a video style platform where all the video is AI created. Like they're selling
Just
that,
like this. This is Meta's already done it. It's the exact same thing OpenAI wants to do.
But I thought what Meta could do is it could take, you know, your existing sort of video library and it'll just cut it up for you. It'll like with
No,
the
this is separate.
ChatGPT one, I thought
they will do that, but no, this is called Vibes. It's a separate standalone app that does exactly the same thing ChatGPT wants to do. You just watch AI generated videos and you flip through it. Yeah.
I am so short that proposition. It's incredible.
I agree.
But the only part I would say that I'm long on is it will if there is any interest there, it will be the most crazy subversive shit that you find on there, because nobody wants to watch like, hi, I'm Scarlett Johansson and, you know, here's my beauty tip. Like that's only there to con people. No one wants to watch that shit. So I feel like leave it to people who are looking for a way to like exploit this and to make it subversive, not just to make it watchable, but to sort of say like, F you, who would want to watch this, to sort of turn this on its head and make it like incredibly watchable, but for all the ways that like Meta could never monetize it, and maybe like the whole idea goes away.
I like that prediction. I think there's a lot of merit to it. I can tell you what's on there now because I certainly downloaded it and checked it out. It's mostly like animated videos, like cute videos of a cat rolling out some dough to make something, or some real video mixed in too, but it's pretty harmless, but also pretty boring. So I can totally see what you're talking about.
Like, I'm not saying there's no market for it. It's just more that the idea that it will always, it's just like people would rather do this. It's like, it just is really like that. Again, that's one of those things that makes me feel like it's bubblicious, because
Totally.
the idea was, it's like, we're going to build this supercomputer and reach this singularity of this AI intelligence. But like now we want to sell you a credit card or like ChatGPT
Totally.
diners opening up in Burbank, California. You know, it's just
robotic
like,
arms,
yeah.
all AI driven. Yeah.
Here's
No, I
our-
think that's
yeah.
right. And so the problem is that AI videos are infiltrating all our regular video sources. They're everywhere, right? So the solution is to create an AI dedicated video feed. I don't see how that solves anything. Like, what does it do for anyone? I can't figure it out. But it's there, it's relevant, they all want to do it, so I'm curious. I just went on there saying like, how would I use this? Like, you could make a meme, because you can generate videos on there. You can make a meme, that would be cool, but then you'd want to take it off that stupid feed and share it with some people. I don't understand what the point of this siloed thing is, unless you limit all AI only to these feeds, but we can't do that. So it just seems like a big pile of nothing.
We shall see. These characters have outsmarted us before,
It's
so
true.
maybe they'll do it
It's
again, and
true.
we just don't see it. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, Adam. I will talk to you again soon.
Talk soon, Jeff.